Ladies and gentlemen, children of the interwebs out there, Sebastian in V strong style, Cinephile, one half of the reigning defending MPX Tag Team Champions, of course, Stargirl. Let's geek about it for a scant few minutes. Now, this is last week's Stargirl. We have a new episode tonight. Ideally, I'll be more prompt with jumping on that episode and seeing it and geeking about it. But last week's episode was episode 5. Now, this is a 13-episode season, if we're going by what the first season was. I've been Googling for an episode count. Don't think I've found it yet. So this is kind of one of those episodes that kind of qualifies as the mid-season finale, which is, of course, it's not mid-season, but on all the CW shows, even the Netflix show kind of follow this model on their 13-episode runs, the Netflix Marvel shows. It's the idea that around the 6th, 7th, 8th episode, 9th episode maybe, our hero, our main character, encounters the main villain of the episode or of the season and gets their butts handed to them. The stakes are kind of raised. We get little teases leading up to it. They confront the big bad, get their butt kicked, and get humbled. And then you got to kind of wonder. The hero kind of wonders what they're going to do. What can they do to beat this foe? And the audience kind of wonders what they can do to beat this foe. They've been trying to think of how to find Eclipso, and they want to find Eclipso, stop Eclipso. Eclipso is evil. They encounter Eclipso, and they realize, oh, they are not ready. That was the gist of this episode. Had a lot of other things going forward. We see Cindy, we see a flashback to when she was a kid, and evidently her Dragon King took her away, kidnapped her to experiment on her. We know that he did some things to her, put the daggers in her arms, and those sorts of things. We don't know how exactly she ended up killing her birth mother. Maybe she went back to her, ran away back to her, and somehow her little knives, activated and stabbed her or something. I'm thinking that's what the case is. You see Cameron still working on his mural of his dad. You kind of see that Yolanda's not a big fan of Courtney interacting with him, considering how involved they are in his demise. But Courtney and those raging teenage hormones would have none of it. And she still wants to talk and interact and, I guess, date Cameron. You see that Rick has an issue with, in their brief interaction in the episode where he just pulls up in his car and just revs the engine several times. He's not a fan of the mural because they know who Jordan was. Cameron has not seen that side of him. It's interesting when Cindy shows up, I guess potentially to recruit him at that point, and the grandparents basically tell her to back off, and you see the grandmother has ice powers. I'm kind of wondering if the whole family has ice powers. I'm assuming so, and you kind of wondered if Cameron's would eventually surface, which they do by the end of the episode. That was kind of the tag at the end of the episode was seeing his stuff emerge. So it'd be kind of interesting to kind of see how that goes, how that drives him, who that drives him to for help or for information. Is he gonna finally see, find out what happened? Is it still going to drive him nonetheless to her? Because maybe she promises understanding or further clarification or whatever she's going to say to get him into her new ISA, which we already see that the Bowman's kid is a part of it. Artemis is a part of it, which, again, it's like secrets and kind of lies by omission, because Tigress is the one that killed Fiddler. So is that going to come up? Is that going to be the thing when that eventually comes out? Because it will. Is that going to be the thing that kind of cracks the foundation of this ISA, this junior ISA that Cindy's building? Shade continues to be one of the most interesting villains to come along in one of these superhero shows in a very long time. I dare put him up there with Slade from season 2 of Arrow, as far as kind of just how the actor's playing him, just the smug, the arrogance, the confidence, and just his presence. I love it. I love it all. His interaction with Barbara and trying to tell her, hey, tell Courtney to back off. And if you find the Black Diamond, tell me and I'll deal with it. So again, it's like, what is his interest in the Black Diamond? He says he doesn't care about the kids. So why does he care outside? I mean, is Eclipso just a larger power than him, and that's why he wants to deal with it? Or like you said in the previous episode, he's a bad guy, but he's not evil. And Eclipso is evil. So it remains to be seen kind of just what his true intentions are, and the fact that Barbara thought he was coming on to her, basically wanted to win her or have her like Jordan did, and because Shade says he reminds her of somebody, and he's like, no, that somebody is family. So again, who is that, and what is Shade's connection to Dr. Midnight? Why does Shade care that Eclipso killed Dr. Midnight's daughter way back? It's just, there's so many questions with this guy, and I'm just dying to go along for the ride to find out what those answers are. Back to them confronting Eclipso in the school. Apparently the Eclipso got passed on by Cindy into the art teacher, and he apparently lost his muse, lost his inspiration at a certain point in time. Eclipso decides to be his inspiration, his muse, and through him ends up throwing out some just mental mind fudgery on the kids and making them see stuff, making them confront their worst fears. You see Yolanda sees the brainwaves and blames herself for their demise. You have Rick kind of seeing Solomon Grundy and being confronted on, is he the monster or is Solomon Grundy the monster? So is there some anger stuff that is below the surface with Rick that we're going to get to explore early on? Or later on, you see Beth is confronted with the fact that her family is falling apart, her parents are splitting up, which leads to her actually confronting them by the end of the episode and just kind of wanting to not beat around the bush. And they say, yeah, we've decided amicably to split up. So, and they're going to talk about it. They haven't made the final decision. Remains to be seen if they actually go through with it, but you can see how it affects Beth. And I just kind of like that. This kind of storyline for Beth. And then her, of course, she's got that going on. Then she's got the fact that she knows Dr. Midnight is actually alive. She doesn't know where he is. We know he's in this sort of Shadowverse or whatever, but she doesn't know where he is. And I'm wondering if that's going to drive her to maybe do some reckless things when she, in the course of investigating, trying to find out where he is. Remains to be seen. But again, this gives her some interesting stuff because outside of it, the big thing with her is, as Dr. Midnight 2.0, is she's weak in the field. So giving her other stuff, other meaty kind of stuff to do, I think will kind of make up for the fact she's not much when it comes to the costume stuff. Maybe when they get Dr. Midnight out and he kind of trains her more, teaches her more, maybe he gives her the blackout bomb stuff that he has, or just other options to make her a better costumed person. Who knows? Remains to be seen. There's a lot going on. We still had Mike and his issues with feeling lonely, and Pat going to, at first, kind of, there's a little bit of anger with how Pat was kind of coming at Mike, but then he kind of softened and wants him to work on a project together, JSA project together, because Mike knows he can't be like the rest, but he still wants to belong. He feels lonely, feels left out of the JSA stuff because he's not a part of it. His dad is so wrapped up with that, with Courtney. And again, like I said in the previous one, that when it comes to blended families and mixing families together, you still, you're trying to bond with the stepkid, but you still got to keep, make sure your blood, your kid doesn't feel left out. And I think Pat kind of, Pat's not, a perfect parent or anything, so he kind of let that slip. So he's got to try to balance his relationship with Courtney, his hero duties of trying to find Eclipso and stop him, stuff like that, with still keeping Mike in the forefront, making Mike feel like that he's still important to his dad. So it remains to be seen kind of how that relationship goes forward. Are they going to work on Stripe together? Is that what's going to put Mike actually in it? And then Cindy and her determination to get Mike and recruit Mike. I'm kind of wondering what angle she's going to approach him from to pull him into the fold, or is it just going to be simply Eclipso is going to get in there, mess with Mike, and use Mike to join up and then attack the rest? And I'm kind of thinking that Mike is going to end up in Stripe, and that's what's going to, because what else could he do? So I think he's going to steal Stripe and use that to attack Courtney and the rest. That's just what I'm thinking. Remains to be seen how it all plays out. Will there be a team up with Slade like Courtney wants? What else is there about the confrontation with the Eclipso back in the day with the JSA that they're not telling Courtney, which of course is going to blow up in their face sooner or later? Was Eclipso just inhabiting one of the JSA members where they had to imprison him or maybe had to kill him to deal with Eclipso? Is that the big bad secret? Remains to be seen, but we know it's going to come to the surface. It's going to blow up. It's going to blow things up, create some drama. But I like the show because the drama and just stuff, it feels natural. It feels as real as stuff can be on a comic book show, which I love about this show, which is why I say it's one of the best superhero shows. It's the best superhero show going today, and it's one of the best ever. So if you haven't been watching it, go catch up on it. It's a great show. Anyway, those are some of my thoughts. Anyway, those are some of my thoughts on it, scattered as they often are. What do you guys out there think? Let me know in the comments below. Follow me, social media. Talk to me there. Talk to me here. Until next time, let us geek.